Hey guys, welcome to Redneck Off the Range. Today I want to do a quick review of my Makita 18-volt angle grinder. I bought this, I don't know, probably a year or so ago to cut up metal crates at work because we get these big metal and wood crates at work and we don't have anything there to cut them up with. So I decided to invest in an angle grinder, and of course I went with Makita because that's what all my other power tools are, and so I decided to stick with the Makita LXT line of 18-volt batteries. I got this as a tool only, and this was a refurbished tool, so it was used and swapped out, and then they obviously replaced all the worn out parts and everything. And I've used this many times and I haven't had any problems with it. Now, I will say this is probably like probably one of the cheapest versions of this tool that you can get. I'm not sure exactly what model number it is because there are so many different model numbers, for with a battery, without a battery, if it's got the trigger up here versus down here, and there are just so many different model numbers it's hard to keep them all straight. But this is probably the cheapest, well, maybe one of the cheapest ones that you can buy, and like I said, I got it as a refurbished model. Now, as a tool only, what you'll get is you'll get the angle grinder, you'll get the little handle here that is reversible. You can have it on this side, you can have it on this side. It does not go on the top. There's not a spot for the top of it. You'll get the little angle grinder wheel tool for taking the actual little nut. I don't really know what you call that, but the little thing that you screw off to replace the wheels and switch them out. You'll get that little tool. It's just basically a flat bar with two little spikes coming out of it. You'll get a 5-inch angle grinding disc. This is a grinder disc, and you'll get a 4.5-inch cutoff wheel. Now obviously I've used this one quite a bit. I mainly use this to cut metal, mainly crates and a few nails here or there, and I've also cut up a Martin house pole with this, and this is the original disc that came with it, so I did all that over the last probably year and a half, and this is how far it got down. I probably wore it down a good inch or so. So it was 4.5, now it's probably like 3.5, maybe a little less. But it's been a good angle grinding disc, and that was a Makita branded disc. I'm not really sure if Makita actually makes the discs or if they just put their brand, their logo on the discs that they sell with the tool. You also have two different guards. So this is the 4.5-inch guard that's on it right now, which is more open on the bottom, and it'll come with a 5-inch guard that is more closed on the bottom. So this is a 4.5 or a 5-inch angle grinder, which probably the two most common sizes that you'll come across in a battery-powered angle grinder. Of course, you can get them bigger, but typically what you'll find for discs and wheels and all that is you'll find like 4, 4.5, and 5-inch wheels. Right now on it, I have a 4.5-inch Warrior disc from Harbor Freight. It's a little bit thicker. It feels a little bit thicker than the disc that came with it, but I used it today to cut open a crate, and did the job just fine. So it's a cheaper cutoff disc, but it does the job just fine. It'll probably wear down a little faster, but I got 10 discs for the price of like 2. It was like $8 for 10. Like I said, it obviously takes the Makita 18-volt batteries. This is a 4 amp hour battery. You can get them in 5 and 6 and 3 and 2, and I think even 1.5. Those are the only sizes I know of for sure that you can get in the actual Makita brand. They of course have a fuel gauge on them, as you can see there. So that's a feature that I like. It also has a fuel gauge on the tool itself. Let me put the thing on there. Let me just turn it on for a second. And as you can see there, it lights up with, this is a 3-bar fuel gauge on the tool itself, and it stays lit for a good long while. And then on the battery itself, you have a 4-bar fuel gauge. So you have 2 different fuel gauges, in case, you know, I guess on the tool, when you're actually using it, you can actually look down and see it, whereas on the battery, it's on the other side. You have to flip the tool over, you know, turn the tool off, preferably, and check it that way. Either way is just fine. I typically don't even look at the fuel gauge when I'm using the tool. This is a 1-speed tool. I believe, you know, they do make some angle grinders that have multiple speeds. Like it'll have like a little wheel that's like, you know, 1 through 6, and I don't know all the different speeds, but I believe the speed that this runs at is the max speed of the version that has multiple speeds. So, I mean, I've never seen a need to actually have it be slower. I'm sure there's a reason why you would want it to be slower. Maybe it's more controllable. I don't know. This is really the only angle grinder I have any experience with. But for me and my purposes, just the 1 max speed works just fine. The button to operate it is on top. You push it forward with your thumb and it locks in place. I kind of prefer this over the trigger. I know that there's a place for the trigger, like if you have to let up instantly, you know, you can just, you know, release your fingers, whereas on this you have to like bump it with your thumb. And I can see that, you know, for safety's sake, but I think even with those, if you just release your trigger finger, it'll still be spinning for a little while before it actually stops, just like this one. I like this one because I don't have to constantly depress the trigger. Like I've used, actually I lied, I have used one other angle grinder, and it was a DeWalt, and the DeWalt had a trigger on it, and I didn't like it because I would pull the trigger and my finger would slip off the trigger and it'd stop, and I just like it having a constant, being constantly on until I turn it off. So yeah, other things that I've used this for are paint and rust removal. I have an old safe, an old gun safe that was pretty rusty when I first got it, and I used this angle grinder with one of these little discs or wheels. I don't remember what these are called. These are like gator pads, gator discs. They basically look like a big sponge, a really coarse sponge, and you put them on there, and you know, you use it to strip off the paint and the rust, and it works pretty good. Obviously, I use this one quite a bit. I still have a little bit more to do, so I got another one. I just picked these up at Lowe's, and like I said, I don't remember what they're called. They're gator something. I know there's like an alligator on the packaging. Now, these discs, wheels, whatever you want to call them, they're very thick. And when it comes to actually putting them on the tool, it's a little difficult because the opening is so deep. And this is just a flat bar. So when putting it on, you have to like angle it, and you really can't get both little things on the nut quite well. And it's just a little bit tricky. I'm not sure if anybody else makes another angle grinder tool, angle grinder wrench that, you know, angles down a little bit. I think that would be a little more helpful than this. I was able to do it, but it was a little bit more difficult than, say, just a cutoff disc. So If you've never operated an angle grinder before, first of all, let's take the battery off. Safety. You have a little button here, and to take the disc off, you depress the button and you rotate the disc until it locks into place. And then you take your wrench and you stick it in the little holes. And then you use that to actually take off the little round nut. Now, the little round nut has two different sides. There's a flat side and there's a side that sticks up. On your cutoff wheels, they're flat, so you want the flat side down to have the most pressure on the wheel. On wheels like this and like your regular grinder wheels, you want the side that actually sticks down into the wheel to go down. Like I said, this is kind of a pain to actually get these on here, but they do go on. It's just a little trickier. The thicker the wheel, obviously, the trickier it's going to be. So yeah, testing out these little gator wheels again, for whatever reason I can't get them tight enough. Like I said, this tool doesn't allow it to get tight enough. I'm not really sure how I did it the first time because I've used it successfully, but like I said, this thing won't get it tight enough. I need a different tool. And what happens is it doesn't, the little nut doesn't get tight enough, so it spins freely on the little post there. And over time, it actually loosens itself up and it falls off. Now, like I said, I've used it successfully before, so I'm probably going to have to come up with another tool if I'm going to continue using these, because otherwise I might not get them tight enough and they might fall off. But for cutoff discs and grinder wheels, works just fine. So, if you're in the market for a new angle grinder, a battery-powered angle grinder that is, check out the Makita 18-volt angle grinder. I don't think you'll be disappointed with it, and especially if you already have some Makita tools, I'd give it a try. And like I said, I've had lots of success with it, cutting metal and stripping paint and rust. You can use it for other things. Like, I've seen people use it for tile. I'm sure people use them to like shape wood and stuff. I've never had any experience with that, but for cutting metal, cutting nails, getting rid of rust, it definitely is a good tool for those things. So that is the 18-volt Makita angle grinder. Subscribe to my channel, and until next time, be safe.